Hello, folks. Hello. Let me just mute the background music a bit. Hi, everyone. How are you? This is UT back for the part three of our, hopefully, the last one of building your own password generator and manager, which we are building using React.js, and we have completed quite a lot, I would say, frankly. Uh, just the last pieces that are remaining, we are going to complete that today in the stream. And with that, we'll have our own password generator and manager. I am going to wait here for a couple of seconds. Like, let's see, like, let everyone join and everything. And then we are going to get started. If at any point I feel like, we have to kind of extend our session, or this is going to take more time, I guess I'm going to cut down our breaks. So sorry about that, and I really apologize from the beginning. Okay, there's a question: can this be added as a project to one's own GitHub? Yes, why not? Definitely go for it. And like, I was going to talk about this towards the end of the stream, but I think this is also a perfect time to let you all know. Normally, when I do streams and I build projects, I put it on my GitHub. It is open, and I always request that, if possible, please uh, contribute to it. Okay, if possible for you, please contribute to the project in whatever way possible. Maybe improve the code. I'm not writing the best of code, at least when I'm doing these streams, when I'm building these projects. But if you get time, and you have time to go over the projects, and you are able to find some bugs which can be improved. Example, I had an epic CSS failure yesterday. So if you are able to find that, and you have a suggestion of how to improve it, please open a PR, a pull request. If you don't know what is a PR, and you want to learn more about it, I would say go on YouTube again. Uh, I'm very sure that there have been numerous streams talking about Git and GitHub and how to use it on MLH channel. So that is what I would request. Go there, learn how to create a PR, how to send a PR to another repository, how to improve someone else's code, and yeah, all of that. That would show on your GitHub profile as a contribution to open source project, which I think is very much exciting. Definitely. So yeah, that those are the things that I would say. So if shift 1 2 3 4 5, welcome back first of all. And yeah, you can add it to your own GitHub. I'll add it to mine. And if you have any code suggestions, code improvements, anything, just maybe changing the layout of it, adding some background color which is better, or you have better UI UX design sense, open a PR in mine too. And I'll try my best to merge your code. I think I did during the last couple of times, definitely. Okay, I have two questions here. For college students, do you know which year it is best to get an internship? That is debatable. uh, so I think summer is good, definitely, because you have more time. And but there are these like, there are some colleges which allow you to do internship along with your uh, curriculum. So that's also there. Here in the UK, you actually get the last 6 months of your studies to just do explicitly an internship, and that counts towards your grades. So all those options are available. Okay, could I you share the link to your GitHub sometime? Uh, Yep, yep. Okay, yes. Sharpre 25 has replied. Yeah, I am going to put my project on GitHub, and then I'm going to share it on the Discord channel. So if you haven't joined the Discord channel yet, I think this is the perfect time to do so. Okay, let me just share the check-in link before we start building. I am going to do a recap, but it wouldn't be very detailed. We are running out of time, I would say. So, but I am going to do a quick recap of what we have built and what is pending. Oh, by the way, I did solve the yesterday's epic CSS failures. I, I think I should do a stream of epic CSS failures sometime, maybe in the next GHW. Next one would be, I think, the season launch, right? Yep. And then we'll have the data week coming in. Very hyped for both of them. Perfect. What was I doing? Sorry. I shared the check-in link. If you haven't checked in, I think this is the perfect time for you to do so. Meanwhile, I'll open our project. For anyone who is joining me for the first time, I'm a big fan of Replit. Big, huge shout out to them. Not a paid sponsorship, or I wish someone would see it someday and let me know that how much I'm impacting their, like getting them customers or consumers. But jokes apart, I think it's a great platform. And if you're coding along with me, then please create an account on Replit. And I will also share the link to my REPL. You should be able to open it, and you can see all the code that we have done. So, while I am explaining what we are doing, you could just copy paste everything that you can see here, especially in main page.jsx, in what was it, app.css, app.jsx, and just check out the package JSON to see what we have installed. All those things you can just copy paste it, and yeah, and then you can do a npm install. Yeah, that was the next thing that I was going to say. Do a npm install. uh, that ways you'll have everything that I have. Okay, doke, let's move ahead. Yeah, our project. I keep forgetting what I'm going to say. Sorry about that. I have too many thoughts right now and very less words, or like I'm just blabbering a bit. Sorry. Okay, so we were building this password generator and manager dashboard where we were going to put a generate password button, input box which is read only, so it's going to just display the password that we have generated. It will have a copy button, and then we had the input box where we are going to add the website URL which we have actually completed, and then the save button which will save it to IndexDB. What is IndexDB? IndexDB is available in the browser itself. It's a database available in the browser, and it's basically, you can think of a long-term local storage with SQL like syntax, MongoDB like syntax. Uh, just think of it as a database, I would say. Uh, right now we haven't integrated the IndexDB, but we have added the save button which shows the website URL that we have added and the password in the console. Now for today's part, we are going to continue building this. We are going to add the IndexDB, then we'll build this table where we'll show the passwords that we have saved. Okay, so that is the plan. I know kind of sounds too much, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to complete it. Let's go to our code. First of all, I would do the fixes. I'll show you the fixes that we'll have to do. So what was the problem? Let me also show you that first before I start doing the fixes on the problem. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So if I hover over it, as you can see, there's this color change behind the refresh icon that we had added. And I realized that was because we had added a color to a background color to the refresh icon, to this fi refresh cw. So if you don't have this background color, actually you can remove this particular class name altogether. I think it works properly. See, now there is no patch. It is not looking patched. So that is the first thing. The second thing was this button that we had added, the copy button and the save button. Uh, it was not exactly aligned. Okay, that was the problem. My idea was that if we could align this input box with this button, so this comes in center of this. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say here. So in the center of this box, if this icon comes in, that would look better, based on my UI UX design skills. But we were not able to do it yesterday, and I said if you could figure it out, let me know. If someone has figured it out, congratulations, definitely about it. But if you haven't, let me show you. Uh, what you have to do is, we had this div on line number 54. Here you can add the flex and items dash center. And we also added this margin top 4 to the input to add some space between uh, this button and this. So as you can see, once I added that flex and margin and items that center, this is perfectly in line. But now it's missing the space between the button and this input box. So we can take it out from there and add it to this particular div, and that should basically solve it. Now you have to do the same thing for the input box below. This save button, it looks like it's aligned to the top of this input box. I want it to be in the center of this input box. So same thing. We can copy this over to this part and remove this empty dash 4 from here. And that should work. Perfect. So these were the two changes. The CSS failures have now been resolved. And yeah, let's see if everything is still working. abc.com, password saved successfully. I did not open console previously, that's why I can't see it. Let's try it again, and yep, there you have it. Website abc.com, and password is whatever was generated here, the bare minimum, very basic password. Okay, let's move ahead. And today we are going to build the next part, which is adding index DB. So how do we add index DB? Now, index DB, it's very nice thing, I would say. Let me see if I can indexed DB. Yep. It's a web API for storing large data structures within the browsers and indexing them for high performance searching. If I'm not wrong, and I can well be wrong here, but I think Verge uses IndexedDB. Not Verge, oops. Verge IndexedDB. I think I found it yesterday. I will check it again and let you all know. But yep, I found yesterday that Verge uses IndexedDB to basically store their data on our systems so that it's very easy to find. Like, quick search, don't have to go back and retrieve the data again and again, stuff like that. Okay, so moving on to the next part, which is, wait, let me just quickly open this up. Okay, yep. I was just like looking around to open Discord, see if there are any messages or something. Perfect. Now moving on. Now, what was the next step? We have to add IndexedDB. So for adding IndexedDB, I am actually going to use another library. I know I used a lot of them. You can use it with like directly using the IndexedDB, adding data. But I think a good wrapper around it, which gives us more JS like feel, would be better. And that is why I am going to basically use what's this called? XCJS, a minimalistic index DB wrapper. And this is what we are going to use. I don't You don't really need to open their website, but for the purpose of further research, I have shared it in the chat, and it is really simple to use. You can do npm install dexy and npm install dexy dash react dash hooks. These are the two things that we have to do. Once we do that, we have to create a file. You can call it db.js, that is database.js. We are not using TypeScript, so we are going to skip this part. Okay, I see a message in the chat. I'll get back to it. Give me a second. Uh, yeah, db.js, where we can write our code, where we can create a new database and yeah, do some stuff there. And then we'll add that to our React code. Okay, so yep, let's get started. So step one is installing this. We have to basically go over to the shell, and let me just clear everything that's here. We can do a npm install, and what all do we have to install? We have to install this dexy and react hooks. Okay, and once you have basically added this to the shell, hit enter, let it install. I'll also share this in the chat. Now coming back to the chat, it's giving me this error: failed to resolve import react hot toast from src slash main page.jsx. Does this file exist? Okay, can you share the link to your REPL on Discord in the security week, I guess? Yeah, in the security week channel. I'll quickly have a look at it and let you know what you need to change if there is anything. Okay, once we have installed it, I am basically going to wait for one more, like 30 more seconds here. Should be pretty fast. You just have to do a npm install and this command that I have given. Once you do that, it will install it to your project, and you can find the packages in package.json. Okay, here it is. Once you have done that, I am going to create a db.js file. Okay, so let me just reduce the size of this particular window here, and let's go to our this src folder. Click on this what was it, kebab menu, add file, and let's create a db.js file. I'm also going, a mistake that I made. Yep, this goes here. db.js file. Now in this db.js file, should probably move this on here. Yep. In this db.js file, we are actually not importing React, but we are going to import uh, Dexy. So if you go back to their documentation, you don't really have to, but just to show you, import Dexy from Dexy. This is what we have to do, the way we do import React from React. And once you have done that, you also have to import another thing, which is going to be used actually later. So let's not import it right now. We'll come back to it later. So next, let's create a database. Now, the way they suggest in their documentation, you can do a export const db equals to new Dexy my database, and then you can do all of this, and that works. It was not working for me, sadly, and that is why, like, basically I had to do a export default. If you have joined, if you were there yesterday, you know what was my take on export const versus export default. So I don't know why, but I had to do a export default. So that's what I'm going to do again. I don't want to figure it out again. So we can name this database anything that we like. I'm going to name it as GHW passwords. Okay, very unique name. And you can take this name definitely. You can repeat this name, and that wouldn't matter because this is going to be stored in your browser. Next, we have to do what they have done here. You do a db.version1.stores. What is the name of basically the table, and what are the columns in that table? So that is what we are going to do. We are going to do db.version1.stores. And what does it store? So first, what would be the name of my table? I'll call it passwords table. You can think of it in that manner. And it is going to store the ID. The plus plus ID means for every new row that you add to the table, increment the ID column by 1. Okay, so the first thing that you add, it will start from 1, and then 2, then 3, then 4, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is what the plus plus ID means. It will have another column which I'm going to call website, and another column which I'm going to call password. So these are the columns that I basically want, at least right now. Where am I getting all this? You remember our table yesterday? So this is what I'm basically trying to create. ID column, which is going to increment automatically for every new row that we add. A website column, which will have this website URL column. You can call it website URL too. That is also fine. And a password column, which is in our diagram here. So these are the three things that we are going to add. I'm going to call it pass website only. Now, if you go back, I don't think there will be anything. Mm, okay, I think you do have to do a export first. Now we can do a export default DB, that is the database that we have created. And let's see if it is in our application tab already, not the security tab. Sorry, application tab and IndexedDB. No, it's not there, at least not right now. Once we start using it, our browser or Dexy is going to be smart enough to create it. Okay, now wait, let me check your code. So excuse me, everyone. Just give me one quick second. I'm checking the code to see if I can figure out the error. Too much silence here. Sorry. So React hot toast and oh yeah. So I think you're facing the same problem that I was facing yesterday. Uh, this thing in your app.css, please change the star to body. Okay, remove the star, change it to body, and I think then you can see everything. Right now, I think the problem that you're facing is, oh, sorry, you're facing a different problem, it seems. But yeah, please try to change this and see if it is working for you. Perfect. Yeah, so this was initially a mistake which we corrected later. I think I corrected in stream 2. Okay, anyways, I'm glad it's working right now. Uh, Assuming from your answer. Okay, perfect, perfect. That is awesome. Okay, coming back. So we are creating a db.js where we have added a bunch of these things and we are still not using it. So how do we use it? So we are going to go back to our main page.jsx, and here, wait a minute, I haven't actually created any function to add this password to the database. So let's create that function first before yeah, I am jumping ahead of myself right now. Sorry about that. So let's create a function to first add the password to our database, to our indexed DB. So since this is going to be used in main page, that is why I'm going to export it. So export const, you can call it anything. I'm going to call it add password. And now the way IndexedDB works, it works as a async await. It's a asynchronous thing. It does not happen when you tell it to. A very easy way to understand what is async is, let's say you want line number 1 to execute, then line number 2 to execute, then line number 3 to execute. When you run your code, it does it in that order, 1, 2, and 3. But with an async function or something which is outside of your control, example IndexedDB, it is outside your control. Why? Because Dexy is going to create the IndexedDB, then it is going to run this function of adding the password to the database, and it's possible that your browser crashes in between. Okay, like I hope it doesn't, but let's say your browser crashes in between, then this is not going to get added to your database because your browser crashed. So what is your program going to do then? Is it going to wait? Is it going to do the next steps? What should it do? So that is where this async function comes in, which says that do it at any point you like. Okay, asynchronously do it. It is not going to execute line by line. It will go like line number 1, then it will do line number 3, and if it has time, then it will find the time to do the line number 2 code, which is this uh, add password thing. So that is why, and that's also how IndexedDB works. It works asynchronously. So that is why we are going to create a async function here. It is going to take a website, which we are going to add to the table. It is also going to take the password. Why is it going to take these two parameters? These are called as parameters. It is going to take these two parameters because that is what we want to save in our database. And that is also what we have basically created here. We generate the password, save the password. And when you save, which right now we are basically printing it, I realize I'm using basically too much, but we are printing this password and website on the console, and that is what we are also going to save to our database. So which is why we are going to take these two things as the parameters. And once we have done that, again async function, so we will do a try catch. What is a try catch? You can think of it as a way of, how should I say this? Okay, very simple. I'll go with a very simple English. A try catch. The syntax kind of says it all, but a very easy, simple English, I would say, would be try doing this stuff that we'll write in here in this block on line number 10. And if you fail to do it, if you see an error, catch that error and then show me what is the error. Or you can do a console log, or you can do a console dot error. Did you know there is a console dot log which we have used? There is also a console dot error. There is also a console dot time. There is a console dot table. Okay, all these things can be done in a console. But yeah, coming back, we are going to tell it that try doing the stuff that I'm going to write, try running the code that is inside this try block. And if you fail and if you catch some error, catch it and then print this to the console, error saving to db, and then print that error. Like you can write anything here, whatever you want. And now also one other reason why we are doing it as a async function, because IndexedDB, I think, uses promises. Again, a very, if it is a new word, I'm sorry, if it is a new word for you, uh, again, understanding it in a very simple English would be, when you run this part of code, when you try to add something to IndexedDB, the IndexedDB uses this promise. And a promise can have two things. Number one, either it is going to be a successful promise or it is going to fail. Even in real life, if we promise someone something, either we are going to successfully deliver that or we are going to fail at it. If you're going to successfully deliver it, then you can do another thing. I'm also using the keyword, which is then. Once this part is successful and the promise is successful, you can add a then to it, dot then, and then do something else with it. If it is a failure, then you can kind of catch it the way we are catching this error. You can also catch a failed promise and see, okay, this promise has failed, so sorry about that. Okay, and if it did not make sense, that's fine. But yeah, let's follow the syntax here at least, and we'll see what happens. So in this try, we are going to add. It's very simple. We are going to do a await. What is this await? Await is, you can think of it as a brother to async here. Uh, if you're using async, then you have to use the keyword await. Async tells that this thing is going to happen asynchronously, and await tells that particular line where to the start of which we are adding this await keyword to wait for this thing to complete. So we are going to do a db dot passwords. What is our db? This thing that we created. What is dot passwords? It's basically the table that we created, and we are going to do add. Okay, what is this dot add? Add is a internal method, a function, you can say, which is available in Dixie. Let me see if I can quickly find it. Sometimes I just can't. Yeah, table.add. Okay, so this is what we are doing. Table is our, where is it, where is it, yeah, this passwords table. So db dot passwords dot add. What do we want to add to it? We are going to add the website, and we are going to add the password. What is this, where is this website coming from? Here. And where is this password coming from? Here. These two parameters that we are going to take, and that is it. And it says variable declaration list cannot be empty. I don't think that is actually an error. It is just replit. Yeah, replit not working, taking some time, I don't know. And this, if you remember from yesterday, is prettier, which I used to prettify my code. So it added spaces here. Perfect. I think that is it. And yeah, that error went away. Yeah, I think it was just replit taking some time to load. So we have created this function or this method, whatever you call it, like whichever programming language you come from. Uh, okay, Java. Anyone who's coming from a Java background, they're going to hate me for saying functions and methods are the same thing. Uh, but anyways, going back, now let's try and go back to our main page. And in our main page, I'm going to import this add passwords functionality, the function, sorry, not functionality, the functions. Import add password. Where am I importing it from? From the db dot slash db js. Okay. So we have imported it. Now we have to use this. Where are we going to use it? We are going to use it in the save password function that we had written. So here in this if condition, we were checking if a password is there. It's not an empty block. And website, which is basically checking if it is, uh, if the website field has some value, and we were also checking whether it's a valid URL, which we had written the code in this utils.js, where we are checking whether the URL supplied by the user is a valid URL. And once all of this was done, then we were doing a console log. Now, just below this console log, I'm going to use like all that add password thing that we created. And remember what we have to pass to it? Add password takes two things. It takes the website, it takes the password. So that's what we are giving it here. We are giving it the website and the password. And I think that should be it. Let's try it. Unless I'm missing something. abc.com. And let's try and save it. And if you see on my right here in the console that I've been showing, previously it was empty. Now it has created this GHW passwords, and there we have it, our own table which has been created right here. And we have successfully created this whole database. If you don't believe, and this is the passwords table which has website and password, and you can see there is an option to delete this database, refresh this database, and let's do it again. I like it. So let's delete this database. Okay, now IndexedDB is empty. If I click on it, nothing opens. There is no open arrow here. Let me just reload the page just to be double sure. Okay, nothing is here. It's empty. It's not, there's no arrow to open this. Let's try to generate a password. And let's say this password is for mlh.io. And I click on save, and it has successfully added the password. This IndexedDB has been created, which is the name of our database, GHW passwords. And inside that, we have the passwords table. Perfect. And let me actually also generate another one. We can call it GHW.io. I know it's not the perfect one. Password saved successfully. And what do we have to do? It has not loaded here yet. Data may be stale. As you can see, it's also giving a warning. But if I do a refresh here, perfect. That warning is gone. And now we have two things. And this ID, as you can see, a key path which is called as id, it is incrementing. They also have this hash, which I think is inbuilt id kind of, which starts from 0, but this is our id field. And okay, it's also here. Now I'm confused, sorry. But one of these is our id. I think both of them are our id field that we have created. I'm having fun with this. abc.com. Yep, data may be stale. You have to refresh it, and it's there. Perfect. We have successfully created our database. We have added data to the database, and I think it's working fine. Can someone in the chat let me know if they have reached this stage and they are able to create a website, a database, sorry, and save the password and website to it? I'd be really happy to know if someone has been following along and they have completed till here. Anyone, everyone? I'm going to wait for a minute and then I'm just going to assume the best. Perfect. That sounds so cool. Okay, doke. Okay, I'm happy with one person who has told me that they can see it. Error db.passwords is undefined. Okay, let me see. I think you had shared your code in the chat. So let me just quick. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to open your replet. I hope you don't mind. Okay, I'm actually going to wait. If it is okay to open your replet. Oh, perfect. Okay, let me quickly see your replet. And okay, you said the error is uh, error saving to db type error db.passwords is undefined. So it should be an error in the db.js. db.passwords.add. Oh yeah, on line number 5, this should be called as passwords. You're missing a s there. Perfect. That's awesome. Give it a try. Let me know if it's working for you. I think it should. Uh, but yeah, if you face any error, just let me know. And yeah, that is it. Perfect. Now, what was the next step that we were going to do? Yes, it's working. That is awesome. Cool. Now, let's go back to our diagram. We have successfully created the top part of it. Now comes the bottom part, which is to add a table. Now, to add the table, let's first create the UI for the table. So I'm going to, and if you remember, day one, I was talking about React being this component thingy where we try to segregate things as much as possible. So that is why I'm going to create another file, which I'm going to call a table component.jsx. I know a bit long name, but just to give you an idea, why did I call this one as a main page and this one as a table component? You can call it anything that you want, okay, definitely. But My, at least from my perspective, or the way I like it, is with main page. When you add the word page to it, that kind of gives a visual that this is going to be visible to the user as the whole page. But individual things on the page, example a button, a input box, these icons, these can be separate components, which are separate files, you can say. And we bring it all together and paste it in a way on the main page. So components is these segregated things, independent of each other, written in different files, and on the page you import all the components and show them. I hope that makes sense, at least a teeny tiny bit of sense. Component can be segregated, separated, independent, and then you import it on the page. We can actually, on from the main page, we can actually take out this button in a separate component. We can call it a button component. We can take out this input, this read only input, in a separate component, call it read only input component. Similarly, for this website URL component, we can create. I haven't created it yet, at least not here, but you could do it. uh, yeah, that's all I would like to say with regards to components. Now I'm going to show you how to import, and it's very simple. We have actually kind of created a component. You can think of a page as also a component which we have imported in app.jsx. But yeah, I think it's more on the preference side of things. So to create any React thingy, you do a import React from React on top, just so that you may ensure that okay, this is going to be some React uh, code that I'm going to write on this page. Okay, once that is done, I am going to do a const table component uh, equals to empty, and then this arrow function, and then we are just going to write a return here. And finally we'll do a export default, same name as this, which is table component. Now in this return, we can do anything. At least for the time being, I'm going to add a table here. A table is divided into two parts. Okay, now going back to our roots of HTML, uh, a table has two parts. There is the T head and there's the T body. Very similar to how we have our HTML. You have the head part of the HTML, you have the body part of the HTML. Similar for the table. So we can create a T head, and below this we can create a T body. I think it's called, yep, T body. And inside this, now you can do multiple things. You can create multiple rows. Okay, so in the head, it is basically the top row, where like in a table normally, if we go back to a diagram, this ID, website URL, password, these are the head section of the table. And then this one, two, and whatever will come here, here are going to be the body section of the table, right? So in the T head, we can create a row, a TR, table row. And in the table row, we can, let me remember. I'm like trying to remember the full form. There is a TH, which is called as a header cell, I think. Don't hold me to it, but I think it's called as a header cell. uh, TH. Yeah, yeah. I think it's called as a header cell. A th is called as a header cell. So in the tr, which is a table row, we are going to create a th, and this is our first one, id. And I'm going to wait here, take a pause here. See, this formatting is not good, so I'm going to copy this, go on to prettier, paste it there. Now look at the formatting on the left hand side, look at the formatting on the right hand side. I think the right one is more readable, definitely. So I'm going to paste it right here, and let's import it, see how it looks on main page. So I'm going to go back to our main page.jsx, and I'm going to import it here. So import table component from dot slash table component. If there are no spelling mistakes, I think, yeah, there's none, and that's it. And now here, just below the just above the last div, okay, above the last div, which I have on line number 80, I'm going to paste it. So open angle bracket, paste the name, and slash and close. And that's it. That's how you can create a, like, import a component. And if I go back, you can see this teeny tiny id written there. Let me just reload. Yep, teeny tiny id written there. That is what we have added in the head section of the table. Now let's go back to the table component, and I'm going to copy this line, this tr, and I'm going to paste it two more times. Why? First for the website, and then second time for the what was it, passwords. Okay, so these are our uh header. These are our column names. Yep, that's what I would say. But it doesn't look right. The css doesn't fit, so let's go back and add some css to it. I am going to add some css which I had written previously, but I'm going to do it along with you, so don't worry. So first we'd say that the minimum width of the table should be full. Second thing is divide dash y. And what is divide y? So if I go to tailwind css, which is what we are using, if you go here, search for divide y, it tells you, it adds border between stacked children. So between 1, 2, and 3, it is adding this border line. So that is what divide y does. So let's come back. And you can also define the color of that divide. So you can do a divide. Let's say it's going to be a teal of 200. Okay, now from the top, which is this, but this input box that we had, I want to add some space. So that is why I'm going to do a empty dash 4, like margin top of 4. I'm also going to add a mx auto just so that it stays center aligned. I'm going to add a border to the table. So a border of 2, I think, should be enough. Uh, the max, I'm not sure, but I think max is 4. So border dash 2, border width. Oh, max is 8. My bad. So there's border, which is this thin. Border 2 is something like this. Border 4 and border 8. Okay, so border 2. Now you can also give color to the border. So I'm going to give it as border dash teal dash 800. Perfect. Now let's go back. And this is what it looks like, at least right now. So it has the border, it has some thickness. Uh, we have to add some CSS to these table headers, but I think we are going fine. Now let's come back. We don't have to add any CSS to t head. or the tr, but to this th, this is where css is going to come. So class name, on the x axis I'm going to add some padding of, let's say, px-6. On the y axis I am going to add some padding, okay, top and bottom, py-3. I'm going to give it a background of teal 50. I think that's fine enough. Now the text should be on the left, okay, the title. You can also define the text size. So I think it would look good for text of small size. And what should be the text color? I am going to go with text teal dash 600. And in css you can also define uh, if everything should be uppercase or lowercase, so casing. So I'm going to say that everything should be uppercase. So even if I write it in small case, it is still going to be uppercase. I'm going to show it to you later. And what else? I'm also going to define the width as fixed to width 10. And see, this is how it looks like, at least for the first one, ID. Now, even if it is small, like ID is written in small, it is still going to be uppercase. Basically, magic of CSS. Now we are going to copy this two more times. Should have also copied the class name, and I wouldn't have to write this. This time I'm going to copy the class name too and paste it to this one. Okay. Oh, let me see if this is going to work. Tracking dash wider. CSS fails, CSS fails, CSS fails. Don't like it. Oh, is it because I've defined the same width for everything? So width dash 10. Let's take it to width dash 80, and this to be width dash 96. That would make sense. I wonder, why is it not going in one line? Anyone would like to take a guess? Why is it not going in one single line? Oh, maybe I found it. Maybe you would have found it too if you are looking at this thing. So if you realize, I have created 3 rows here. Okay, which is a bad idea. We don't want 3 rows. We want 1 row and 3 columns. Yep. Oh yeah, someone guessed. Perfect. So we don't want 3 rows. So I'm going to take off these extra rows. That was a brilliant way of deduction. And yep, that's all set. Yeah, I shouldn't get ahead of myself. Yep. So defendant 2511 and Trisha Tom to my Tommy no, to my. Yep. Congratulations on perfectly guessing that. Okie doke. So that's so now that we have solved it, let me see if I can kind of prettify it so that it looks better. Come back here, reduce the size of this thing, and I don't think I need this tracking wider. Perfect. And yep, that is it. So we have to define 1 row. Don't make the same mistake as me. define one row, and in that one row we want these three as the columns. Okay, and that's it. At least for the header part we are done. Now let's add the body part of this. Now to add the body part, we have to first import the data from our database, our index.db. So we have written the code to add data to index.db. So now we have to write code to import data, get data from index.db. So I am going to write that in db.js where we have defined our database. Okay, in the same place we are going to add the code to import the passwords and everything from index.db. So first we have to import uh, a library which we have actually added, which is called as dexy-react-hooks. So in that there is this function, this called as use live query. And from, we are, as I told you, we are going to import it from dexy-react-hooks. Okay, so we have imported it. Now let's add the function to import it from the index.db. It is really simple. It's like literally a one line code. So we do a export const, and you can name this function anything you want. If there is a add password, so I'm going to call this as use passwords. Okay. So there is a add password function which adds it to the database. So I'm now writing a function called as use passwords, which is going to use or retrieve it from the database. You can also call it retrieve passwords, anything. And it is going to basically call this function that we have imported from React hooks, dexy-react-hooks. And this function is just so simple. DB, that is what we have created, dot passwords, which is the table that we have created, and dot to array. That's it. That is all that we have to do. And we can import or retrieve the passwords now and turn it to a array. Let's go back to our table. Like, let me actually wait here. If anyone is copying along, also let me see if I can improve it. I don't think I need to. I don't think there will be any change. Yeah, everything was perfect from to begin with. But this is all that we have to do. Oops. So till this part is similar to export const add password. In now this is not an async function, so we don't need to add the async and await. This is where we have created the function, and in this we are doing this line. So you could actually also write it this way and add a return here. Gives you more feeling of being a function, but since it is a one line thing, so that is why we can also just remove the return keyword, remove the brackets, and it becomes a one line function. Okay, one liner you can say. So export const use passwords gets this, and let's use it in our table component. So I'm going to import it. So import, what's the name of my function? It's called as use passwords. So import use passwords from what is called dot/db. Yep. Now that we have imported it, let me see if I can do a console log here. Yeah. So if I do a console log, it tells me that this is the function that is working, like this is what is being returned from that function. Now I don't want just this, uh what do you call, I don't want to see the function, I want to see the passwords. So what we are going to do is we'll create a variable actually. So we can create a const passwords that is going to call this use passwords function. Okay, this is the variable that we have created. Now let's see if we can console log this particular variable, this passwords. Let's go back, let me reload, and that's it. There we have it. It is retrieving data from the database. Okay, from the database that we have created. So all we want to do right now is take this passwords variable that we have created and then print it on the page. So in the t body, now if you feel this is confusing, don't worry. Also, let me show you one more interesting thing. If I reload, oh, I removed the console log. Sorry, console.log passwords. Now let's go back. Let me reload. Once I reload it, it says initially it is undefined and then it retrieves the data from the database, right? And that is why we are going to do a very simple trick here. So what is the trick going to be? Step number one is to ensure that the passwords exist. Okay? It's not undefined. So we can do something called as passwords and. So by doing this, we are ensuring that the passwords variable has value in it and it is not undefined. So passwords and. The next step is to do a map. So what is a map? A map is, you can think of it as a for loop on an array, like a for loop, but it creates a new array whenever you do a map. Okay, very simple. So here you can see an example 149 and 16, and they have created a map 1 where they are saying that array 1 dot map x such that x goes like x returns x into 2. So 1 into 2 it is going to return 2, then 4 into 2 it's going to return 8, then 9 into 2 it's going to return 18, then 16 into 2 it's going to return 32. Now they are console logging map 1 array. When they do this, what happens if I also do a console.log of array 1? If I run it, as you can see, the original array is unchanged and a new array is returned with whatever you want to, like whatever you have told it to do. If you have told it to multiply everything by 2, it is going to do that and it is finally going to return a new array. So that is what we are going to do. We are not going to change our original array. We are going to return a new array, passwords.map. Now we can say we can give it a variable here. So if I go back here, as you can see, this is what they are doing. They are taking this, you can add brackets to it, and you can add brackets here. I think it will still work. Yep, it is. You can instead of multiplying by 2, let's say do a multiply by 3, and yep, it still works. So we are adding a bracket. So this is the variable. This x here is the variable which we are going to call the variable as each password, or you can call it anything you want. You can call it x. I can also call it each data. You can all like basically call it anything you want. uh, for the purpose of this one, I'm going to call it each password. And what is going to happen here? Now we don't want to multiply the passwords by 2 or 3 or anything, but we actually want to return the data that is coming from there, okay, and show it in a nice row below. Okay, it has failed. Sorry, but below the ID, like ID should come below the ID. Website URL, like website URL should come below the website title. Password should come below the password. I have a question. Are you still in India? Oh no, I'm not in India right now. Sorry for that. I was like 2 months back, but I'm not in India right now at least. Okay, coming back to this one. Okay, so yeah, we don't want to multiply it, but we are going to return a row. Now, this time I am going to remember. We'll return one row exactly. And in this row, I am going to do this thing where we will say, here we had th, which was table t header, I think. That's what I said, right? And there is another thing called as td, which is data, table data, I think, or cell data. This is a cell head and this is cell data, or table head, table data. Yeah. So td is table data, and in this table data I am first going to, what is the name of our variable? Each password. So I'm going to take each password. And if you remember from, like, let me actually see if I can get it. Yep. If you remember, you have this three, like an array of three things. And inside that, there is this ID, password, and website. So for each object here, this curly brackets, it's the object. So for each object, I am going to take like the ID and print it. And that is what I have done here. For each password, get the ID. So dot ID gets the ID. Now I'm going to copy this, paste it here. And each password dot, the next thing would be what else is there? There is a website, and I'm going to do it in the same order that I have done in the top. So ID comes first, so that is why ID comes here, and then website, so that's why website, and then the password. So each password dot, what is the variable for password? I think it's called as password. Yep. So dot password. And once we do that, we can see the data. Perfect. Now, if you are looking at the console, you will see it gives a warning saying each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Now, this is very specific to React. It says that if you're doing this, to put it very simply, whenever you're doing a map, then the first element, the first attribute, it needs to have a key which should be unique. Now we know that in our code, this each password dot id is going to be unique. Why is it going to be unique? Because we are incrementing it on every addition. So every time we add a new password, we are incrementing it. So that is why it is going to be unique. So 1, 2, 3, and that's it. Perfect. We are able to see it. It just looks very ugly. So if I don't have a CSS failure, let me try and add some CSS to this. So I'll start from T body. And in the T body, I'm going to give it a class name of, first, the background should be white. Okay. You can, let's go with actually slate dash 50. The next thing is, again, I want division. So divide dash y, which we have used above. But in this, I want the division color to be divide dash slate dash 400. Okay, so this is what I want the division colors to be. Okay, so we have added divisions. It just looks so stuck. Okay, there's no space, it seems like, between the rows. So let's do that. So in the TD, I'm going to first give it a class. In the first TD, I'm going to give it a class name where I'm going to say on your x-axis, uh, add some spacing on the left and right of 6, and on the y add some space of 4, and white space no wrap. So what is this white space no wrap? You can find more information about white space no wrap on, like, if you just Google that part. But white space no wrap is basically to prevent text from wrapping within an element. Okay, new lines and spaces will be collapsed. So if this is the thing that you, let's say, kind of have, okay, it is going to be returned as this. If you write your text in this format, then the output would be something like this. No additional spaces here and there. Okay, the uh, spaces which are not needed, not required, that will be removed, kind of. And I'm going to copy this for the others. Like, there are multiple ways to do this. Like, I'm kind of repeating the code, and if you are willing to submit a PR, uh, see if you can, just reduce this duplication that I have done at least. Perfect. Let's go back here, and okay, this looks much better. Okay, won't you say? uh, yeah, I think this looks better, definitely. Maybe instead of slate, if I go with a teal of 100, I would say would look good. Yeah, it's not really visible, but I know it's there. And yeah, that is it. Perfectly fine. Like, we have successfully created the table. Okay, we have successfully created the table, we have successfully created the database, we have saved to it, we have added the password, generate password copy. But I think the project is complete, won't you say so? And it looks good. Pretty sure we can add more functionality to it, which I am going to right now. Now there's a question, why didn't we use a margin instead of padding? So margin, where, here px and py, let's try that. So for every px I can change that to mx, for every py I can change that to my, and this is the final result. So maybe we need to figure out why is it not working. Just to give you a hint, padding works with respect to the, okay, padding basically compresses the element inside, adds spaces. Margin works with respect to the element and adds spacing around the element. Okay, so what is next? What are we going to do next? Okay, there is a suggestion. You can create div class name this no wrap div around the TD. Well, definitely give it a try. I would say give it a try. Or if you know you want, you could raise a PR. Send me a pull request where there's less duplication, and I'll definitely look at it. Okay, let's go back. Now, what are the additional functionalities that I would like? Let's start with the bare minimum functionalities that I would really like. The first one is, I know, like, I have added my website name, I have added password, I also want to see the created at. When was this created? Okay, when did I create this uh, password? When did I add this password to the database? I want to see that too. So we have to add a new column. So let's start from the beginning. First, when we are doing the add password, now again, multiple ways to do this. A very easy way is to add a variable created at, which is independent of website and password. The idea is that when you do a, like when you click on the save button and it tries to add the website and password to the database, at the same time it should also take the current timestamp and add it to the database. If it is not making sense, don't worry, I am going to show it to you. So const, we can do create a variable. Let's call it created on, and it is very simple. New date dot to ISO. Added O, right? Yeah, to ISO string. So in our add password, we have created this particular variable const created on equals to new date dot to ISO string, and now we are going to add it here, like where we are basically adding the website and password to the database. We will also add this particular variable created on. Okay. So let me reload, and actually I will have to, let's delete this database that we have created and let's start fresh, because some of them will have the created on, some of them will not have a created on. Very annoying. So generate password, let's call this as mlh.io and let's save it. We are still not showing it, but let's see if it is there in our uh, this thing. And as you can see, there is the data created on has been added. It just looks very weird. 20, okay, but you can discern it. There is 2023-06-11, and then there's this T, which is like from here time starts. It is 19 colon 22 colon 33. 19 is 7 p.m., I think. Yep. And 22 and 33, like 7:22:33 and dot 352, what is it, milliseconds, microseconds, I don't know, whatever it is in time after seconds. I think it should be milliseconds. And yep, the time has been added. Well, this is not my time, at least this is the GMT time right now. Okay, so as you all may know, time, there is this one particular time zone that man has created, that this would be the base time zone GMT, and everything else would be created as an offset to GMT. So India is at GMT plus 5:30. UK currently is at GMT plus 1. From October it will go back to GMT. Yeah, I think October. Okay, so we have added that variable and it gets added to my database definitely. Now I want to show it to my table, on my table. So we can come back here. We can first create a new header. I have copied over the previous one and I'm going to say this is called as created on. Uh, I'm not going to assign any width to it, so it will take any width that is remaining. So this is what I have added here. And in this TD, what I'm going to do is basically copy this. And this is what is the variable name. It is called as created on. And once you do that, you can see the timestamp. It just is very difficult to understand. Okay. Like really not human readable. I would go as far as to say it's not human readable enough. So there are multiple ways to solve this. I would do two things here. And please like forgive me if you think this is the bad way to do it. Once again, encourage on a PR to come in. But what we can do is, we know that before this T is this date. This is a date, okay, definitely a date in YYYY dash MM dash DD format, right? So I can do one thing here. I can do a dot split, okay, split this whole line on this variable T. So when you do a split, it creates an array. And from that array, I want the thing that is on the zeroth index. And that's how I get just the date. So that is one way. And I'll also show you how you can get the time. So first, let me add some space, explicitly adding some space because we have added white space dash no wrap. So this is how you can explicitly add some space. And after this, let's say I want to see the time. Now you can do a new date. And what is the variable? It is called as each password dot created on. And in this, I'm going to tell it, change it to locale time string. Which location? I'm in UK, so en-gb. And inside this, I would say the time style should be, let's say, short. And R12. So should it be a 12 hour thing or a 24-hour thing? I'll say 12 hours should be false. And this is what it looks like. This is currently my time. The time here, it's 8:22. You can also change it from time style short to time style long. And this is the perfect time. Like, this is not the current time. This was the time that we had saved it. Okay, so there is an answer. So the first two digits are the seconds, the rest is your time zone. Okay, thank you so much. So that solves a mystery here. So dot 352Z, it is not my milliseconds or anything, it's basically my time zone. And that is how it recognizes that it is BST, British Summertime. Okay, perfect. So this is the this is how I have taken out the time, at least. But there is this thing called as intl dot date time format, which you can use. Okay, this is another way of formatting, and you can use this directly to get your date and time, okay, both at the same time, like in this format if you want. And just check it out if you can add that to your table. But at least for the perspective of this one, we have successfully added that part. We have added a created on. Now it is going to get added automatically every time we create a new password, add a new website, abc.com. It gets added with the timestamp and everything, which is nice. Looks perfect. Looks good. Not perfect enough yet. What are the other additions that we can do? So when we are talking about the other additions, if I do a save again, okay, if I do a save again, same password, same website, do a save again, it adds it again. The timestamp is different. As you can see, this was added previously, this is added now, like a minute's difference kind of between them. But it's adding the same website and same password again, which I think is a bad thing. We can improve this functionality. Think of it from the Chrome perspective. You log into a website, and once you log into a website, you save the password. Let's say you log in later and you update the password. Chrome does not create a second instance if it's the same URL, same username, and different password. It updates, it gives you that pop-up asking you to, do you want to update the password for this website? I think we should also do that. Not give a pop up, but at least just override the old password if we have a new password being created. Or yeah, I think that would be a good functionality to have. So let's go back to our db.js and let's see. So we have this created on. Now we can do one thing here. Like again, multiple ways to do it. One of the ways is, let's create a variable. Let's call it existing entry. And first, let's get our database. So await db.passwords dot get. And what do we specifically want to get? We want to get the website. Okay, the website names basically. So first we get the website. Once we get the website, now we check if there is an existing entry. Okay, if this website name which we are trying to add exists, kind of, then we are going to do await db.passwords dot update. Okay, what do we want to update? Get the id of that existing entry and update the password, and also update the created on. Okay, so first let me like let me go back to it. What we are doing is, first we are getting the existing entry of basically the website name. And if it exists already, if the website name abc.com exists in the database, then update the like the id will remain the same, update the password for that particular id, and also update the created on. Okay, because the created on timestamp should change. Else, okay, else we want to do what we were doing previously. Let me just take it on prettier, paste it, and get it back. Okay, now let's go back here and let's see. If I try to generate a password and I do a abc.com, I think this is going to break because we already have it twice. Okay, it updated the last one, the latest one. So if I do it again, oh, it's updating the first one. Okay, the first existing entry, and it is updating that. Let's me generate a new password, add that. Yep, it is updating properly. So for the purpose of our project, I think we should just again delete it, start fresh, definitely. So delete this database, reload this page, and let's generate a password for the website mlh.io. Save it. Okay, that works. If I generate a new password for mlh.io, now as you can see, this starts from r3jd. And if I try to save that, it updates it, also updates the timestamp. Okay, so we have added another functionality to it. A question. I have a question. Could we actually use this by exporting the DB and importing it onto our browser as saved passwords? Oh, you mean export index DB and import it in your browser. So let's check it out together. Okay, at least right now it seems like there's view, there's refresh, there's edit, there's delete. Okay, can we export indexed DB? Can we export indexed DB? Okay, seems like there's a Chrome extension which can help us do that definitely. And good things about IndexedDB, there is no limit to the space. Okay, you can add more and more and more to it. Perfect. I hope that answers your question. Going back, what are the additional things that we could add? Uh, Okay, let me see if we have time for the. Yep, we do have time. So, what else can we add? What else? I think this generate password. I think the logic that we have for generate passwords, it can be updated. Now, I have updated it. Okay, when I was preparing for the stream, I wrote a kind of a complex logic of how we can generate the password. I'm not sure if we'll be able to go through it line by line, uh, with the time that we have remaining. So I'm going to paste it, but I'm not going to type it line by line, but I'm going to paste it here, uh, from what I have, and I'll just quickly go over it. I've also added helpful comments, okay, so that it's easy to understand. Wait, whatever. Let me actually just copy it line by line. So in our utils.js, okay, let us, so again, this is very independent from the page, okay. So previously we had created this uh, generate password. Okay, this generate password, we had created it in the main page itself, but we can actually take it out from here. It's not really dependent on this page. Okay, it just needs to take this variable, like whatever is the generated password, and set the password to this password variable. uh, so that is why I'm now going to create the new one in utils.js. So what I'm going to create, so we are going to create an export function. We can call it again, generate random password. And what is the additional thing that I would like? I would like if there is the ability to pass the length. Like I want a 4-digit password, I want 8-digit password, I want 20-digit password. There should be the ability to pass that length. So I think that is a very good thing to have. So we that is why I'm going to take a parameter from the user to pass the length. Now I'm going to basically copy paste a few things. Don't be scared. Where is it coming from? Why is it coming from? So these are a few words that I got. What are these words? Where are they coming from? If you have heard of something called as faker.js, okay, so faker.js is basically, let me find the website. It is used to generate massive amounts of fake but realistic data for testing and development. So from their GitHub, I went to this locales, English, and vehicles, and got some, you know, vehicle names. I also got some, I think, animal names. I, uh, I think it was dog or cat or one of the birds. Like basically I went on the, yeah, I think cats. I got the name of the cats. So this American bobtail, American curl, I copied it over from their website. Massive amounts of fake data available on their website, and you can definitely use that. Thanks to the faker.js team here. Now, moving on. Now, what was I doing? Yep. So that's where I got these words from. Now, what is the idea? The idea that I have is, first, step one, take the words array, choose a word from there, then take a special characters array, which I am going to now paste a special characters array, and then take generate a random number, and the final password should have at least one number and one special character. Okay, that is also one requirement on most of the websites, right? Your password should be at least like 8 digits in length, should have one number and one special character, something like that. It is normally there. Okay, so yeah, that is what we are going to do right now, kind of enforce that. Okay, I'm sorry, I did not check the chat. Okay, thank you for offering help. And okay, since you are checking onto it, I am not going to, but do let me know what was the error, so maybe even I can keep an eye for it later on if someone else faces the same error. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to paste the special characters array. What else I'm going to paste? Nothing else, at least right now. So now we have two things. We have a words array, we have a special characters array. Our code should first, let's create a variable. We can call it like let password equals to empty. Now, how it should work is first, it should generate a random word or pick out a random word from the words array. So this is the line of code that I'm going to use. Once it has done that, now it should generate a random number. And this is how we generate the random number. Now, once you have generated the random word or picked out a random word from the words array, then we are going to add it to the password variable that we have created. The password variable, as you can see, it starts as an empty string. We add the word that we have picked to the password array, to the password string, the variable. Now we are going to generate a random number and we are going to paste that. Now we are going to again we are going to pick a special character. So this is how we can pick a special character. And once you have picked that up, we are again going to add it to the uh, password variable. And what else? Now, if you have seen my words array, you will find that there are some words which have a space in between. We don't want spaces in our passwords, definitely. So let's resolve that. Let's remove the white space that exists in the password. So we are going to replace that, and this is how you can replace the white space. This is a regex, and we are going to replace any white space in the whole thing with no white space. Okay, now once that is done, what's the next thing? I told you that we are going to take the length from the user. Let's say user says that they want password which is of 25 characters. Okay, numbers, letters and words combined should be 25. Now if it should be 25, I don't think we have any word which is like 25 characters long. So let's also add some logic to generate the remaining characters. Okay, the remaining length of passwords. So actually I'm going to add it before we replace the password. So this is the logic for generating the characters from the remaining length. Like someone wants, let's say 25. I'm going to ensure that they have at least 3 digits and then generate the remaining ones. Now, once you have done that, I know it's going to sound like, okay, I'm rushing into it. Uh, but yeah, with respect to time, I don't think it would be possible, but I'll add the comments. I'll also put it on uh, GitHub with the comments. So you can take it out from there and you can read the comments. Okay, now once we have removed any white space, let's shuffle the password characters. Okay, we don't have password to be exactly like, uh, let's say Bengal, one exclamation. It should be shuffled. The word should be shuffled. So if our code has chosen Bengal as the character, then it should not exactly be this word. Okay, it should be shuffled in itself. So NEB, LGA, like shuffled across. So that is the next logic that I'm going to write. That is, first let's create a variable shuffle password, and that is calling a function called as shuffle string. Where is the shuffle string function? We actually have to write that function. So let me write that below. Function shuffle string. In this, we can create a variable. We can call it, like, let's say let shuffle string, and we are going to first split the string into individual characters. So in we'll I told you previously, when we were splitting the time, we can split it and it becomes a array. So when I split it on, like, basically no space, okay, no space, it splits each character in the whole word into a array. Once that is done, once that splitting is done, we are going to use Fisher Yates algorithm to shuffle the word. What is Fisher Yates algorithm? I think quick Google search should help. It's basically an algorithm for shuffling a finite sequence. Okay, so that is what we are going to use. The word algorithm sounds so big, it's really just so small. And finally, we are going to return that shuffled string. Okay, that's it. Now let's go back. Okay, this does not look properly formatted. So let me also format it while we are at it. Okay, doke. Okay, so shuffled password. Now, what is the next step going to be? Now, what if the password goes beyond, like, let's say someone wants a 5-digit password. We chose the word of, let's say, 4 characters or 3 characters, added the number and added the special character, and it was exactly 5 characters long. And then we tried to do some magic, add some extra characters, and it became, instead of 5, it became 6 characters long. I think that's a bad idea, right? So we only want the password to be exactly of the length that the user has asked for. So that is why I'm going to add this particular line. I added this particular line, that shuffled password should slice from 0, that is from the 0 position, till the length that the user has asked. Like from 0 position to, let's say, if user has asked for only 5 character length password, so that should be there. Now, I also told you that we are going to check for a particular condition, that it should contain at least one number and one special character. Okay, that is very important for our password. So this is what we write. We are so this is basically a regex test. So you can find everything about everything on Mozilla. So this test method executes a search for a match between a regular expression and a specified string and returns true if there is a match, false otherwise. So this is the regex or regex to check if the whole string contains a digit. It is either going to return a true or false depending on whether this has a digit or not. Then if it has a special character or not is being tested by this regex, and it returns a true or false whether it has or not. If it has, then it means it is good, and we can just directly return the shuffled password. Okay, if the shuffled password has a special character, has number and it has special character, then we can return that. But if it does not, then what should we do? We should rerun this algorithm to generate a new password. So kind of what's it called when you do that? What's the word? What's recursive? Yeah, recursive. So this becomes a recursive thing. It is going to, again, if it does not have number, it does not has number, or not has special character, return generate password, generate random password length. Basically we are calling this function again to generate it. Yes, recursive. Okay. Are we using paid account? No, mine's is free too. It's basically my personal account. uh Okay, doke. So this is a very big function that we have created to generate password, generate a random password. Let's go and test this. So we had this code of generate password. I am going to basically import our code on that main page itself. Let me see if we are running out of time. Okay, we have 8 minutes left. uh, we had is valid URL imported from utils. So we'll also import this generate random password from utils. Now I'm going to basically hmm, okay, we'll have to create I'll start with creating a use state actually first. Why a use state? Because we want to store the length, whatever the user gives. So we can go with length and set length, and we can start. Wait, did I delete something? Yep, I deleted this. Oops. Uh, Equals to use state, and we start with at least 8 characters. That is the bare minimum that we are going to start with. And now we can just, instead of doing this, we can do this again. So const generate password, should have copied it from here. Yep. And that is equal to a function here. I'm specifically doing it so that you get an idea of how you can do a, how we are doing very something very similar. Just instead of this, we are going to use this generate pass random password function that we have imported, and pass it this length variable that we have created. And once that is done, we can just copy over this particular line. And yep, I think that should work. Let me go reload, generate password. So there is one special character and one number. Let me, yep, just do it multiple times. One special character, one number, special character, one number, multiple, like, okay, one special character, one number. That is the bare minimum that we are asking it. And multiple special characters, two numbers, some letters. So, okay, our function is working fine, but how many digits is this? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's specifically generating only 8-digit password. we have still not added a functionality to ask user how many digit password they want. So very simple to do that. I am again going to, okay, let's open this. And before this generate, I can add input, and we can close this one. We can add some class name to it. Let's say width dash 40. That matters to me a lot. What else? We can add px4, and on the y it would be py dash 5. I think that's enough. We can add a placeholder. Placeholder would be called as, let's say this is where you input the length. So length, and this would be of type equals to number. That is, again, it's going to be a number. What is the value it's going to show? It is going to show a length. And on change, that's the next important bit. So I'm going to write it here, on change. Whenever there is an on change, when user changes this, there's an event that is happening. And to get the event, if you remember, we were doing event or e dot target dot value. That's how you can get the event, right? Once you get the event, double L, sorry. Once you get the event, we need to convert this to a integer, because in input, by default, even if you add a number, it changes to a string. So we can do a parse int to convert it to a number. Okay, so now it is definitely going to be a number, and then we can give it to the set length function. Okay, let me go on prettier, and yep, just format it. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, we can add some border and everything, but let's say if I go for 5. So 1 2 3 4 5. Perfect, it works perfectly. We can add some more styling to it. Rounded border, border teal. Yeah, I think we can take all of this and add it to the input. uh, just add some margin around it. So m r dash, not to this, actually we can add it to the button. We can add on the left, add a margin to the button. And yep, that's the next bit. We have successfully added this. You can add more things to this. So you can add a min, like minimum it should go to 4, and maximum it should go to, let's say, 20. So now if I try to go below 4, it is not going to go. If I try to go above this 20, it is not going to go. But manually, you can add anything that you want, okay, which is insane. Okay, this is insane. Very bad idea. Okay, so what should we do? We can add a condition check before we generate the password. So where we have our generate password, yep, here we can put a condition saying that if the length is greater than 3, and okay, now this is to ensure that the length should be less than 21. If these conditions are true, then and only then we are going to run this generate password and generate a password. Else, you know how to show a notification. We'll do a toast, and we can say password uh, should be minimum 4 and maximum 20 characters. We can do something like this to basically ensure that the password does not go beyond, like, let's say someone goes like 34, tries to generate. Nope, should not happen. Perfect. So there's a question. Is it like an event listener in Java? Event listener in Java. Yeah, I think so. Because even in Java, it has the option to listen to a mouse click or something, right? If I'm not wrong. My Java knowledge is bad. But okay, 16, generate password. Oops, I am up outside of my time, it seems. Uh, we have another stream coming up, but I think that's it. One more thing. Yesterday, I realized that if you try to add a website like ghw.mlh.io, then it is not going to accept that because the URL regex that we added does not support at least that part. So I have a new regex for the URL pattern at least, which I will paste in the chat quickly. So that would support the MLH ghw.mlh.io. So I'm also going to update it here and just comment out the old one. So let's reload this. Aborted 500. Could not reload. Oops. Okay, I think I broke something definitely. Just stopping and restarting should solve it. But yep, that is it for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining who stayed back with me. I'm going to put it on GitHub, and I would request if you have some awesome things that you can change in this whole project, add functionalities, improve the code, uh, please send a PR request. I'm also going to ping it up, put it on Discord, and yep, that's all. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. See you all in the next GHW that would be happening. See you all. Bye bye. If any questions, I'm going to stay back for another 30 seconds with some music on so that we can vibe. Uh, yes, definitely. Ping me later on Discord. Definitely. I am so happy that you liked the stream and the stream was helpful. So thank you so much. I'm going to show that quickly for everyone to see. The quick shout out. Perfect. See you all later. Bye bye. Take care.